Former President Donald Trump claims his federal indictment is you could just fill in that blank, right? Witch hunt by the Justice Department. And over on Capitol Hill, his MAGA supporters are jumping on that bandwagon. After the indictment, Representative Jim Jordan, chair of the House Judiciary Committee, doubled down on his letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland, demanding documents about the FBI's search of Mar-a-Lago. And yesterday, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy condemned the DOJ's decision to indict Trump in a video that he posted on Twitter.
This judgment is wrong by this DOJ, that they treated President Trump differently than they treat others, and it didn't have to be this way. This is going to disrupt this nation because it goes to the core of equal justice for all, which is not being seen today.
Joining me now, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She's also a civil rights attorney and a member of the House Oversight Committee. Congresswoman, Kevin McCarthy, paper tiger, in my opinion, one of many paper tigers in Washington, D.C. right now. But before we get to that, I want to get your thoughts first on this federal indictment of former President Donald Trump.
It is amazing that for decades, Black people, brown people have complained about our criminal justice system. And now all of a sudden there is a problem with it now that Trump is involved in it. I want to be clear for anyone that cares to know the truth. This is literally about someone who is criminal, right? It used to be a saying that we used to have, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. Well, here's the deal. Donald Trump has had almost everyone who's close to him be arrested and convicted. I don't know how many times I've seen his former attorney on MSNBC this weekend who was convicted. He's had so many people around him, right? We used to talk about pay attention to who it is that you rock with because the company you keep could potentially cause you some problems. And honestly, I think at the center of this, it's always been Trump. Trump is a criminal. I know you're presumed innocent until proven guilty in this country, allegedly. But let's be real. We all know that Trump is guilty and Trump walked himself into this.
So let's talk about, though, Trump allies running interference in your backyard in D.C. to try to maybe derail a prosecution or any continuing investigations that are going on. You serve on House Oversight with Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan loves to send those, fast and furious letters demanding a whole bunch of stuff, but never quite gets what he wants. But are you concerned at all that he and his other Republican colleagues will abuse oversight for the purpose of interfering in Trump's prosecution?
There's been nothing but abuse on oversight, to be clear. But the American people should know by now that the House Oversight Democrats are some of the strongest advocates that you can have. And a lot of the hearings that they really thought they were going to go in and really get something damning, they turned up nothing. In fact, they usually look like idiots by the time we're done with them. So they can try it if they want to. But let me tell you, the House Oversight Dems will be bringing that smoke. So I say bring it on if this is what you want to do. But it is unfortunate that our tax dollars are being wasted in this way. Essentially, we've got House Republicans who have decided that they want to be auxiliary defense counsel for Trump. And that's exactly what we see is an abuse of power. When you talk about the weaponization of the government, it is the weaponization of the House Republicans. They are the ones that are abusing their power and abusing their seats simply for personal gain. And I say personal because so many of them want to make sure that they stay within the good graces of Trump so that they can win their elections.
I'm going to play a little bit of sound for you right now from Republican South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace, who some people, Congresswoman, says is kind of moderate, right? I don't think a lot of people say that she's super far right, but she serves on oversight with you. Take a quick listen to how she responded to Trump's federal indictment on CNN on Thursday.
This is the executive branch tonight trying to take out their #1 opponent for the presidency of the United States in 2024. And they have one standard for Donald Trump and another standard for everybody else. Everyone's held to a different standard but Donald Trump. And that's wrong. And I do believe tonight that Joe Biden just secured Donald Trump's nomination for Republicans in 2024.
Congresswoman, we know that Donald Trump's base just doesn't get it. And, you know, I don't know if it's just willful blindness or ignorance, but I mean, there aren't different applications of the law. You're an attorney. I'm an attorney. There aren't different standards. There was a grand jury that returned this indictment made up of American citizens that believed that probable cause existed, that he violated at a minimum 37 felonies in the federal system. But is there any fear on the Democrat side that this indictment could actually work in Trump's favor?
You know, honestly, here's the deal. We know that President Biden can beat Trump. So, I mean, I don't see it happening that way. What I do see is problematic is what you started with. This idea that it was the president that did it. I think that this is where we start to get to the violent activities. We've seen just recently the young man who's actually from my home state of Missouri who decided that he wanted to drive his U-Haul into, I don't know what that child was going to do with that U-Haul at the White House, but we know that they incite violence when they promote this propaganda and this ignorance. You and I both know, as you've already stated, not only was it U.S. citizens, but we're talking about Floridians. We're talking about his neighbors. We're talking about his actual peers. And, you know, you guys have posted it a number of times. We know that Florida hasn't necessarily been Joe Biden country, right? I mean, if this was really a Joe Biden thing, I'm sure he would have chosen a different venue other than Florida. But I applaud, you know, Jack Smith, because he's decided to take every precaution that he could to make sure that this does not look politicized, that it does look like it is a fair prosecution. And honestly, I do think that Trump is getting special treatment because honestly, I've had plenty of clients that have been under federal indictment as well as state indictments. And this has kind of been slow rolled, right? We know that Trump overall has committed crimes since before he got to office, during office, and now after he's been in office. And to be clear to anyone that doesn't understand, if Trump would have listened to just one of his lawyers, because he's had plenty, there is this beautiful right to remain silent. If he just would shut his mouth, and even now he continues to talk, and I promise you, the AUSA's office, Jack Smith's entire team, they are paying attention. They are taking notes. They are getting their recordings. And ultimately, it is going to be Trump that convicts Trump. I have told my clients a million times, it was your own words that got you here. Trump, listen to me when I say it is your own words that got you here. And ultimately, if you are sitting in a jail cell, it will be because you refuse to shut your mouth.